أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi Prof, Dr. Wan dan juga fellow students. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Um, we thank Allah SWT for allowing us to be here this morning. Inshallah, the purpose of our meeting this morning is to listen to a lecture by Prof. Shukri Saleh. The topic of the lecture for today is Islamic economic development. To give a bit of background, the lecture is part of our module Islamic economics here in UTB. So this topic actually is a fixed topic which is taught for all students taking Islamic economics. Yes, inshallah, just to introduce Professor Shukri. So Prof. Dr. Muhammad Sakri alias Shukri bin Saleh holds a Bachelor of Social Science in Rural Studies from Universiti Science Malaysia, a Diploma in Economics and a Masters of Arts in Rural Development from the University of East Anglia, and also a Doctor of Philosophy in Islamic-Based Development from the University of Oxford, UK. Prof is currently an Honorary Professor of Islamic Development Management at the Center for Islamic Development Management Studies, in short ISDEF, of University Science Malaysia. Prof is also the ex-founding director of the center. So currently, Prof is also adjunct professor at the Faculty of Islamic Development Management at Universiti Islam Sultan Sharif Ali Brunei. So inshallah, without further ado, I would like to pass the floor to Prof. Dr. Shukri Saleh. Inshallah. Fadal, Prof.
Alhamdulillah, auzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil mursalin sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi washabbihi ajma'in wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah azim. Astaghfirullah azim, astaghfirullah azim, astaghfirullah azim. Thank you, Brother Zawawi, and thank you also for inviting me. Selamat berkenalan anak-anak semua. Dan insyaAllah, together with us is Dr. Wan Nurhaniza, also from the Center of Islamic Development Management Studies at University Science Malaysia. And if there are any questions that I couldn't answer, then insyaAllah Dr. Wan will help me to answer the question, insyaAllah. So let me share my PowerPoint, yeah? Can you see? Boleh, Zawi?
Yes, Prof. Alhamdulillah, we can see.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, the title given to me by Brother Zawawi is Economic Development, Islamic and Conventional Perspective. We'll be discussing, inshallah, a little bit of conventional economic development, but the concentration of our discussion today is on the Islamic economic development, inshallah. Yeah? Probably one is asking, what do you mean by conventional perspective? By conventional. Conventional here refers to the mainstream economic development. To be more specific, it refers to the Western economic development, or those economic development characterized by what is called Western ethnocentric economic development, or Eurocentric economic development. It is called Western ethnocentric economic development or Eurocentric economic development, because it originated from Europe, yeah, from European countries after 1945, after 1945, after the Second World War. So, let me go to the next slide. After the Second World War. So today, we'll be discussing on 4 topics. Number 1 is the evolutions of the concept of conventional economic development. Number 2 is the philosophical foundations of the Islamic economic development. And the third one is the characteristics of Islamic economic development. And lastly, development of Muslim countries, and the poverty challenge. These 4 topics are given by Brother Zawawi to me, and inshallah we'll try to discuss it as much as possible to make us all understand what economic development is actually. All right. The first one is the evolutions of the concepts of conventional economic development. So, as I said just now, it started after 1945, after the Second World War, and that the concept mainly used at that particular moment was the economic growth. Remember the word growth. Why growth? Because they want to increase their economic development through certain ways to redevelop their destroyed countries after the Second World War. Yeah, we found that after the Second World War, many of the European countries were destroyed by the war. And after the Second World War, they wanted to find ways to re-establish or to redevelop their own countries. So they believe that it can be done only by having an economic growth. And what they mean by economic growth is an increase in countries' productive capacity and potential. That's one. You see, the main words here is the productive. So meaning that they want to see the capacity of their people and the potential of their economy to produce more, yeah, to increase their productivity. That's one. Number 2 is to increase the per capita income. Per capita income by trying to increase the income of the individuals. And when we say per capita income, all the incomes of the individuals are total, and then they try to divide by the numbers of the people, jadi per capita income. Yeah. So the other one is the very important element is the gross domestic product. So what they mean by gross domestic product is the consumer spending plus the business investment plus the government spending and plus the net exports. That's number 3, yeah, gross domestic product. And lastly is the efficiency. The measurement of the efficiency is the increments of output per unit of input, meaning that if you increased, if you using the output or factors of production, or from a Marxist, neo-Marxist view, they call it, the term is a means of production. Yeah, this is very important when you read a book or an article. If they use the factors of production or the input, that means that they are writing from the perspective of the neoclassical economy. But if they use means of production, so it is from the perspective of the radical economy, radical philosophies of economic development, either from Marxist view or from the neo-Marxist view. So the efficiency to them is if you use the minimum units of inputs, but you can increase the output as much as possible. So this is another thing that measures the economic growth to the neoclassical economy. So usually we can find that in the economic growth, in the concept of economic growth, the components are capital accumulation. As if we can increase the capital accumulation, that means that the growth is also increasing. The more we accumulate the capital, the more the economic growth is. This is what they believe. Number 2 is a growth in population and labor force. Because labor force is very important for them to produce, and then therefore they need the population to grow. As the more the population is, the more is the labor force, and therefore they can produce more. And until apa ni comes the theory dia punya a theory which says that the resources are scarce, resources are limited, while the human beings desire are unlimited. The wants are unlimited, and therefore they start to limit the growth of the population. But that was later on lah. And the third one is the technological progress. The more progress the technology is, so they think that they believe that the more the economic growth will be, inshallah. So that is the first concept. And then later on in 1980s, there exists another concept which they call a human development. So now they are shifting from the economic growth, the merely material growth, to a more human development, to a human growth. The concept of human development was introduced by Mahmud Al-Haq and later on by Amartya Sen. Both of them are from the Asian countries, from Pakistan or from India. So they introduced what they call human development, referring to the process of increasing people's freedom, opportunities, and also improving their well-being. So there are three components, because they observe that economic growth per se could not achieve the economic development, because they found out that actually while endeavoring in growing the economy, the people's freedom are not there, and also the opportunities are also it's not open to everybody. It's only limited. It was limited only to certain kind of people, to certain elites. And therefore, some of the people, and in fact, majority of the people, especially in the underdeveloped world, were not improving their well-being. So Mahbub and Amartya Sen were saying that we need to shift our development from just the economic growth to human development by referring to the increments of the people's freedom, meaning that people must have the freedom to endeavor for their life. And then also there must be an equal opportunities to everybody to upgrade themselves in economics and also in the well-being of their families. And the third one, by giving the people's freedom, the equal people's freedom and also the opportunities, they believe that the people's well-being will be improving, inshallah. So this is what Sen termed as capability approach. So in this concept, the human development concept, people are free to choose who to be, what to do, and how to live. So they have the freedom to choose what kind of people they want to be, what they want to do, and in what way that they want to live. This is what they mean by the the freedoms of the people. So indicators are health, education, and income. There are three indicators which measure the human development. The first one is the health, the education, and also the income. The three measurements. And later on, they were saying that these three components, these three indicators are the index of the human development. So they developed the human development index based on these three indicators. And until in 1990, so UNDP, United Nations Development Programs of the United Nations, launched what they call a human development report to fulfill the human well-being, not only the economic growth, but also the well-being. You see, in the concept of the human development, they still believe in economic growth, but to them economic growth is not enough. There must be a human well-being. Then human well-being can be achieved through people's freedoms, to the people's equal opportunities, which they call as capability approach, inshallah, measured by health, education, and income, right? That's the second main concepts of the conventional economic development. But later on, in 1987, there arose another concept which they call a sustainable development, which is popular until now. Yeah, even though we are very familiar, most of us are very familiar with the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs now, but actually the origins of the sustainable development were introduced by UN Brundtland report since 1987. And we can see that the concept developed time by time until in 2015, they established the goals, the development goals, what they call as known as Sustainable Development Goals, to fulfill the sustainable development in 2030. So the timeline or the time frames of the SDGs is from 2015 to 2030. Introduced by United Nations, and then it must be it is obligatory for all the member states, the member countries of the United Nations, to fulfill and to achieve the SDGs. They have the 17 goals. Yeah, I'm sure that Brother Zawawi have taught you all about these SDGs. If not, you can just refer to Google. So here is the popular, the famous design about sustainable development goals, showing all the 17 goals that they want to achieve by 2030. For instance, no poverty, no zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, and so forth. So all together are 17. What they mean by sustainable development is this, by UN, United Nations. They were saying that development that meets the needs of the present. So development must meet the needs of the present, but then without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. So we cannot fulfill our needs for ourselves, but we have to also spare the development for the future generation, so that they can also meet their own needs. So the components are human sustainability, to maintain and improve the human capital in society. The second is the social sustainability. And the third one is the economic sustainability. And the fourth one is the environmental sustainability. You see in the concept of sustainable development, these are the four things that they are concentrated on. It is the sustainability of the human beings, the sustainability of the society, the sustainability of the economy, and also the sustainability of the environment. Dr. Wan is pakar in this sustainable development. If you have any questions, then inshallah we can ask Dr. Wan later on. So all in all, we can define the economic development, the conventional economic development, as the process of societal transformation. Yeah, they want to transform the society. So it is a process. It's called the economic development. How to transform that, in which social and economic conditions of human societies and communities change over time. They want to change. Yeah. The process of societal transformations is based on the change over time, and the change in the economic development, and therefore economic development is the study of this change. Yeah, so we can say that conventional economic development defines economic development as the transformations process of the society for the benefits of the society, for the well-being of the society, and it changes over time. And we, the economic development students, are studying about this change. This is basically what they mean by economic development.